Decision. You're standing at the fridge at 7 p.m., door open, cold air hitting your shins, and you can't choose anything. There's food in there. You can see it, but something between your eyes and your hand has stopped working, and you just stand there holding the door like you're waiting for the fridge to decide for you. And for a second, you just stand there. A psychologist named Roy Baumeister coined this, decision fatigue. The idea is that the prefrontal cortex treats every choice as a withdrawal from a finite account. What you buy, what you reply, what you schedule, what you eat, what you skip, each one costs something small. By 7 p.m., you've already made somewhere around 35,000 micro-decisions. The account is dry. What makes it different from laziness or indecisiveness is that the mechanism doesn't care about the size of the choice. The same depletion that made you stare at the fridge also made you snap at a coworker over a meeting time, agree to something you didn't want to agree to, or just stop responding to emails entirely. The brain doesn't distinguish between trivial and consequential. A choice is a choice. The fridge doesn't know what kind of day you had. Compassion. The phone doesn't either. Your friend texts about her breakup. The long one, the bad one, the one you watched coming for months. You read it again, and there's nothing there. Not annoyance, not sadness on her behalf, just a kind of flat static where a feeling should be. Something that should land doesn't. This is compassion fatigue, and it shows up in clinical trauma literature, but you don't need to work in an ICU for it to find you. Emotional bandwidth depletes the same way cognitive bandwidth does. You type a response, delete it, type another one, delete that, and eventually send something like, "That's awful, I'm so sorry," which is true technically, but hollow as you hit send. It's not selfishness. The capacity isn't gone, it's just temporarily offline, the way a muscle goes slack after overuse. You still care about her. The caring is just not accessible right now, and the gap between knowing you care and not being able to feel it sits there like a bruise you keep pressing. You can care about someone and feel nothing at the same time. That gap is its own kind of weight. Hedonic. That weight tends to shift over time, which sounds like relief, but it's more complicated than that. Think about the salary raise, the one that felt enormous for about 2 weeks. You remember the exact moment you got the news, the relief, the exhale, the mental list of things you'd finally be able to do, and now it's just the number on your paycheck. You can't access that feeling anymore. It's not that you forgot it happened, it's that it recalibrated, and then one day it's just baseline. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. The brain recalibrates its emotional 0 point upward to match new conditions. The raise, the apartment upgrade, the relationship that finally felt stable. Each one registers as significant, and then the nervous system absorbs it and resets. The upgrade becomes invisible because the brain has redefined normal to include it. What this isn't is ingratitude. The nervous system isn't punishing you for wanting things. It's doing exactly what it was built to do, recalibrating toward a stable emotional equilibrium so you stay motivated to keep moving. The problem is that the mechanism doesn't distinguish between what you worked years for and what you had yesterday. The ceiling becomes the floor every time. Social. So you make plans. You make them 3 weeks out, when the version of you that exists in 3 weeks feels like a different, more capable person. And then 3 weeks arrive and you're sitting on your couch rehearsing an excuse to cancel. You draft the text, delete it, draft it again. Something about being tired. Something vague enough that it won't require follow-up. And the strange part is you don't even want to cancel. Social battery drain is distinct from introversion. It's not about preferring to be alone. It's about the cost of sustained social performance, the gap between how you actually feel and the version of yourself you present across 9 different contexts in a single day. The professional version, the friendly version, the calm version, the engaged version, code switching between all of them runs a tab, and by evening the tab is due. It's not depression, and it's not that you don't like people. It's that the version of you that shows up to things is a performance, and performances have running costs. Sensory. You close the last browser tab, you silence the Slack notifications, you turn off the background music you stopped actually hearing an hour ago, and the silence that follows feels wrong. The quiet should feel like relief. It doesn't. Sensory overload fatigue isn't stress in the conventional sense. It's what happens when the nervous system habituates to a constant incoming stream. Notifications, audio, motion, switching, and then the stream stops. The system doesn't immediately downregulate. It keeps scanning. Your eyes move toward your phone not because you're expecting anything, but because the brain is still in receive mode and doesn't know what to do with the absence of signal. The contrast here isn't with calm, it's with noise. You haven't lost the ability to be still. You've just spent long enough in the current that stillness stopped feeling like rest and started feeling like something missing. You've trained yourself to need the noise. Moral: the noise you've trained yourself to need makes it easier not to think about certain things, like the email you wrote this morning. You reread it before hitting send, and you knew it wasn't right, knew it misrepresented something, knew the person receiving it would make a decision based on information you'd quietly shaped. You sent it anyway, and by 6 p.m., you'd half forgotten which version of yourself signed off on it. It's not guilt exactly, it's something quieter. A psychiatrist named Jonathan Shea first documented this in Vietnam veterans ordered to act against their own moral code. He called it moral injury. But you don't need a battlefield for it to accumulate. Anyone whose daily role requires sustained ethical compromise, the lawyer who knows the argument is weak, the manager who delivers a policy they think is wrong, the person who stays quiet in the meeting, anyone doing that regularly starts to feel something erode underneath the functioning. Not energy. Something else. What separates this from burnout is the location of the damage. Burnout is depletion. You run out of fuel. This is different. The engine still runs, the schedule gets met, the performance stays intact. What's eroding is the self that does the deciding, the part that originally had a position on things. You can function perfectly well and still be losing ground. Discipline. And here's what losing ground looks like by 9 p.m. You skipped the gym. Not because you were lazy. You weren't lazy today, you were actually disciplined, almost rigidly so. You said no to the bad lunch, no to the distraction, no to the shortcut in the afternoon when it would have been easy to take it. And then you came home and snapped at someone you love over something that didn't matter. A tone of voice, a dish left in the sink, and something gives. Roy Baumeister, the same researcher behind decision fatigue, identified this separately. Ego depletion. Self-regulation draws from a shared cognitive resource, and each act of willpower reduces what's left for the next one, regardless of what domain it's in. Resisting the bad lunch and resisting a flash of anger at someone you love are pulling from the same pool. The brain doesn't file them separately. What this isn't is a character flaw. The person who held it together all day and then fell apart at 9 p.m. isn't weak. The mechanism is identical for everyone. The same resource that powered your discipline in the morning is the reason you're a different person by night. You spent it on the right things, it just ran out. The discipline you're proud of in the morning is exactly why you're a different person by night. Allostatic? You take a vacation, third day in, lying somewhere warm, nothing scheduled, nowhere to be, and your resting heart rate won't drop. 76, 78, back to 75. You put the phone down, pick it up again, not for anything specific, just because stillness has started to feel like a threat. Your body hasn't gotten the memo. Bruce McEwen named this allostatic load, the cumulative biological cost of sustained stress adaptation. Cortisol levels, low-grade inflammation, cardiovascular strain. The body keeps a running total. Months of early mornings and bad news and low-level dread leave a physical residue. The vacation doesn't clear it. The long weekend doesn't clear it. Your nervous system is still running the program from 3 years ago. It's 3 a.m. You're not anxious about anything specific. There's no crisis, no looming deadline, no identifiable threat. The alarm is set for 6:30. You know you should sleep. But something won't close. Not a browser tab. Not exactly. Just a question that keeps sitting there in the dark, asking why you're doing any of this. It's not a crisis. It's something slower. This is existential exhaustion. The fatigue of sustained forward motion without a why. It's distinct from depression because nothing is broken. The calendar is full, the goals are intact, the performance is continuous and convincing. The exhaustion lives underneath all of it, in the gap between what you're doing and why it should matter. It's not nihilism, and it's not burnout. It's the specific weight of being a conscious animal inside a system that rewards output and has no mechanism for meaning. The modern problem isn't that life is hard. It's that life is full, and fullness and meaning are not the same thing. You can be completely occupied and completely empty at the same time. No amount of sleep touches that.